Hey y'all, welcome back. Brick City Brown Chick coming at you. And this week I'm going to be talking about the one. The one is a concept I've never believed in and still don't. And it's basically the concept that says there is one person in this world tailored for every other person. In other words, there's only one person for you. And whether you ever find that person or not is a series of chances and coincidences and random meetings and all that sort of thing. I just don't think people are wired that way. I think people will convince themselves that, oh, there's only one person, and if I just find my other half, everything will be great. I don't honestly think it works that way. I think sometimes people are lucky enough, as I have been, to find the person that's right for you, but that doesn't mean that there isn't another person in the world that is right for you. It's just that you met this person at a time in your life where you were ready to settle down and do that. And I wanted to talk today about a story from my own life and my own romantic history that, in retrospect, is pretty funny, but at the time, not so much. So many, many years ago now, probably, well, yeah, definitely over 30 years ago. Wow, that's a thought. Was living with a guy, and we were just roommates. We were friends. We had met on a blind date, decided that we weren't going to work as a couple, but we became friends. And after 6 or 7 months of knowing each other, we decided to get an apartment together. He had a bedroom, I had a bedroom. Okay, cool. This was the time in my life where I had just broken up with my ex boyfriend and was sort of emotional and frustrated with men and just generally annoyed. But I was blind dating. So I met the man who would become my husband. I met him on a blind date, and we went out and we had a good time, and we went on another date. And so we started to become serious as I was living with my roommate, who I'll call D. D was, among other things, a ladies' man. There were girls coming and going all the time. And I would ask him, are you dating any of these women, or is this just a friends with benefit situation? And he would never actually answer me. He would just laugh, like, I'm like, oh, okay. So I'd meet these girls, they'd say hi to me, I'd say hi. I just didn't want to be involved in the drama and the mess that I knew was eventually coming. Because at some point, two of these girls crossed paths, and it turned into a physical fist fight outside of our apartment building. And all I could do was just roll my eyes and go back inside, like, I am not getting involved in this. At some point during our living together, D lost his job, which was being a furniture salesman. Now, looking back in retrospect, I'm sure the reason he lost his job is because he never went to work. I'm 90% sure that's what happened, but he lost his job. And he was paying half the bills, half the rent, half the utilities, all that. Another red flag I can see in retrospect is that all of the bills, the phone bill, the utility bill, had to be in my name because he did not have good credit. Okay, now, as a grown woman, I understand that that's a red flag, even just living with somebody, not dating them. But as a 20 something, I didn't really have any idea. So I was like, okay, you have bad credit, I'll just do this. So it turned into, over the next couple of months, me having to pay the entire rent and him paying me back because he didn't have a job, but didn't have a source of income. Did he pay me back? Yeah, in drips and drabs. I think our apartment was like $900, so his part was $450. I'd get like $100 one week and $50 the next week. Okay, whatever. I did not ask where this money came from. Part of me thinks I really just didn't want to know, but I just went with that. But when it came to paying the utilities and the phone bill, I had to pay all those myself because he didn't have the money to contribute to this situation. Okay, about 3 months of this, I was getting super angry and super frustrated because I was tired of paying all the bills and he was still in the apartment, hanging out all day, doing whatever he was doing, probably sleeping with girls, all that sort of thing. And I finally had to sit him down and say, listen, you need to get a job or you're going to have to go because this is out of hand and it's just not working. And of course, he got angry with me because somehow it was my fault he lost his job. I don't really know. But that's how that went. And one night I came home to find our phone had been shut off. And I had no idea why because I had paid the phone bill the last month. So I had to go to a friend's house, call the phone company, and try to figure out what was going on. The phone company said, your outstanding bill is several $100s, and we are not going to turn your phone back on until it gets paid. Now I'm pissed. Now I am like next level because I know it hasn't been me making a bunch of phone calls. So I went back to our apartment and said, it's your fault the phone got turned off. What the hell is going on? He claims to have no idea what happened. And he talked to the phone company, and I was just over it. And by that point, I think my husband and I have been dating maybe 6 months. And he said, how are you going to get a hold of B now that we don't have a phone? I said, oh, he'll be here. And I was very confident in that statement. Like he will come here. When he can't get a hold of me on the phone, he's gonna come over. And he's like, how are you so sure of that? I said, because I know him. He doesn't play games with these sorts of situations. Within 20 minutes at the door. And I opened the door and I was like, hi, how you doing? He's like, do you know your phone's disconnected? I was like, oh yeah, I'm aware. So yeah, he came right over the next day. This was way back at the beginning of portable phones. We're past the brick stage. It wasn't a brick, but it was like the real beginning of portable phones. He went out and got me a portable phone, a prepaid phone. He's like, this is for you. This is just for you. Don't let your roommate anywhere near it so that I can get a hold of you. Because at that point, we lived 45 minutes apart. So it's not like he lived around the corner, but he got a phone for me and he's like, okay, you and I, he's like, well, look, you're an adult. You can do this, but I'll go with you if you want me to. You need to go to the phone company, have the bill printed, and figure out what the hell this is about. And I thought that was a good idea. So that's what I did. He came with me and I went to the phone company and had the bill printed out. The printing of the bill took 45 minutes. I was dumbfounded. It was like 30 odd pages because this is back in the days of a dot matrix printer. Gen Z people, if you don't know what a dot matrix printer is, just understand that it's a very, very, very slow printer. So it took 45 minutes to print 30 pages. Yeah. When I got out into the hallway and just started going through the pages, it was 28 pages of 1-900 numbers. And this is also a weird thing for Gen Z. 1-900 numbers were sex lines, were numbers that men would call, men mostly, call to talk to women sexually. Yeah, that's the only way I can put it. So yeah, that's what he had been spending his days when he was allegedly looking for a job doing, was calling 1-900 numbers. They charged by the minute, and most of the time it was, $3 a minute, $5 a minute, depending on the line you called. And the phone bill came up to more than $2,000 over a 30-day period. Amazing. And not in a good way. Just amazing. So I went back to our apartment. I dropped this phone bill in his lap and I said, "You did this. You get to deal with it." And he was like, I'm like, "No, you did this. You get to pay it. I'm done." And what ended up happening is he kept saying he had no money for this bill and the bill had to be wrong and he couldn't have made that many calls. And I was just like, figure it out. And what ended up happening is he did not end up paying the bill. His mother paid the bill for him. Because the bill was in my name, every month when I got it, I would see when the payments were made, and there'd be like $500 paid here or $700 paid there. And I knew he didn't have the money, so his mother paid the phone bill for him. The way that situation ended is I finally had to take his name off the lease when the lease came up for renewal, and he had to leave. And so I didn't want him in the apartment by himself. So I said, "Look, I'm going to pack up your stuff. Here are the days and times I'll be available for you to come get them." And I packed up all his stuff, and my husband helped me. And at one point, my husband flipped the mattress over and pulled out a huge Ziploc bag full of what I can only describe as like green looking leaves. And he held it up for me, and I looked at it and I said, "Is that what I think it is?" And he's like, "If you think it's weed, yeah, that's what it is." And I was just like, unfreaking believable. So I packed that in his bags, and he and his brother showed up a couple days later to pick up his stuff, and we could hear them yelling in the bedroom, like, "Where's the stuff, man? Where's the stuff? Did she flush it down the toilet? Oh my God." Neither of them said anything to me as they walked out with the mattress that had a big hole in it, and all I could do was laugh. And so after he left and all his stuff was gone, my husband and I moved in together into a one-bedroom apartment in the same complex. And that's how we first ended up living together. But how I knew he was my person was how he handled that situation. And also how confident I was that he was going to handle the situation. In other words, he was going to come over and see what the heck was going on because he cared about me and wanted to make sure I was okay. So, what I always say to women is it's not the words, it's the actions. When the chips are down, when you are in a situation that is not good for you, that is not healthy, is he the person that is first in line to stand up and to help you and to figure out how to make things better? And if the answer to that is yes, then you know you're with the right person. And if the answer to that is no, then you know you're with the wrong person. And it really is just that simple. But yeah, that was definitely a situation that blew my mind and not in a good way, and made me realize whether it worked out with my husband or not, I would never have a roommate ever again. Never, ever. So that is my thoughts for this week. Thanks for hanging out with me for a few minutes. Everybody take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.